We are heading out to Las Vegas this weekend for the Shriners Hospitals for Children Open, and it's an interesting field because Bryce D Chambeau is a pretty heavy favorite. He has a tremendous history at this course in the past, but so do several other golfers, including a heat check favorite in Patrick Cantlay. So let's dive on in and break it on down. Welcome on into the Heat Check Fantasy Podcast, powered by numberFire. That's right here on the FanDuel Podcast Network and numberFire.com. My name is Jim Sotis. I am a senior writer and analyst for numberFire.com. Joined here, as always, by Brandon Gdula. He is the managing editor for numberFire. Brandon, the Shriners on tap this weekend, the first of two straight events out in Las Vegas. How you doing?
Well, you know, Jim, we've been talking a lot about putting lately.
Yeah.
And I've come to the conclusion that I got to stop rostering golfers and betting golfers who just don't putt well.
Yeah.
And last week I mentioned Sergio Garcia as someone I liked, but I was like, I got to pump the brakes because he can't putt. I got to learn my lesson. I've learned my lesson. He goes out. Apparently has been closing his eyes while putting for like 4 years, but goes out and wins. And when we did our win picks, I said I should just take Garcia, but I can't. I took Taylor Gooch, which in hindsight was, I mean, whatever, but I'm so frazzled I decided not to wear a hat for once.
I think you're cursed in the swing season specifically because like last year during the swing season there was a similar discussion. It was with Sebastian Munoz. It was not with Sergio Garcia. It was with Munoz. You were like, oh, I should pick Munoz for this event. My numbers like him or something like that, and you didn't pick him. That was
the Sanderson Farms. But the week before, I liked Neiman at the Greenbrier, and I said no. Right. I won the bobble hat last year, so I had honors to take the first pick. I was like, I'm going to take Bryson. It's a smart thing to do. Neiman won, messed it up again last year with Munoz. But, I mean, now our win picks, I mean, you're still ahead because of those blunders. And because, you know, you got DJ, the Tour Championship.
Again. If you had won the bobble hat, you could have DJ too. This is not my fault.
And the real irony, and I know this sounds how it sounds, but when I was out, I loved Justin Thomas to win at WGC. Yeah. And it was my turn to pick, but we didn't do it that week.
Oh yeah, totally. I believe you. Yeah, I buy it. Yeah.
So I'm gonna lose based on all these close calls.
But you're gonna win the bobble hat, so who cares? The bobble hat is what matters. That's where the pride. That's where the juice comes from. I don't honestly know where I was going with this.
Is this our fourth year with this?
Yeah, because
so I'm 2-1 already.
Yeah, you're 2-1 because I got Dante Culpepper, the bobble hat in year one. Yes. I have bought you a Ricky Fowler hat and then some Overwatch hats, or was it something else?
Good job, Jim. Yeah.
Okay,
it was Overwatch. Okay.
Overwatch. Do you have? So basically, what we did here with our weekly head-to-head, we keep track of who wins throughout the course of the season because of the COVID layoff. Push it back to the Masters, which is 6 events away, but I'm 6 down. So I'd need to win every single one in order to tie, which is not going to happen. So I am effectively conceding to Brandon now. Do you have a hat in mind that you're going to pick for your bobble hat trophy, I guess?
Look, the trophy's not yet mine. I can't be making those decisions just this soon. I can't do it.
Maybe I'll get you. Does Sergio have like his own line of something? I can buy you a Sergio hat.
I don't like his hats.
Okay, they're not good.
Okay, the other
thing to discuss here is, can we get like Sergio to teach like Luke List? Like maybe could Luke List try putting with his eyes closed? Like, is that something we could do?
That's the thing. Like maybe some of these guys should start closing their eyes, and like, can it be worse? Like.
Maybe Denny McCarthy should close his eyes when he's not putting, on his like approach shots. He'll just close his eyes and see what happens.
Although we're going to talk about Denny McCarthy in a bit, and maybe he doesn't need to close his eyes. Maybe things are getting a little better for him.
Hey, birdies are birdies, man. I don't care how you get there. It doesn't matter the route you take. All that matters is the destination, and destination's been birdies and good finishes for Denny McCarthy.
It doesn't matter never mind.
Doesn't matter how you get there. What matters is the destination. What matters is the birdies you make along the way. I think we can say that pretty definitively. Yeah. We're going to break down the Shriners Hospitals for Children Open here in just 1 second. But first, if you are looking for some NFL content, Brandon and I broke down week number 4 from a DFS perspective. To recap all that went down, we talked about Kareem Hunt going forward, Joshua Kelly and Justin Jackson going forward, our thoughts on Kenyon Drake. You still want to be masochistic enough to talk more about Kenyon Drake. We went through all that in our week 4 recap podcast. That is now posted on the numberFire Daily Fantasy podcast feed. It's also up on numberFire.com. You can find a link to our week 5 listener league right there for the NFL. It's a $5 entry, 3 entries max. It is rank free. So if FanDuel makes $0.00 off of this contest. In fact, they've lost money a couple times this week just for you. So congrats to the listeners for doing that. Make sure you get yourself entered over at FanDuel.com. Go to numberFire.com. Check out the week 4 recap podcast post. Find the link to the listener league there, or go to FanDuel.com/league/listener league. Brandon, we are at Tpc Sutherland this weekend. It is 7,255 yards and a par 71. About 140 golfers in the field. The top 65 plus ties will make it after the first 2 rounds. Tpc Sutherland, of course, we know quite a bit about, and the golfers seem to like, at least if you enjoy birdie fests. What do we know about Tpc Sutherland based on what we've seen here in the past?
Yeah, pretty easy course. So you will need birdies to contend. It's one of those weeks. In 5 of the past 7 years, the winner has posted a score of 20 under or better. And according to Data Golf's scoring dispersion info, the course plays almost exactly like the average PGA Tour course in terms of how much strokes gained off the tee matters, how much strokes gained approach matters, etc. The only caveat really is that strokes gained off the tee explains about 13% of the scoring compared to 15% on the PGA average. Usually these things are pretty tight because golf is golf, and there are definitely discrepancies, but overall, it's not like, strokes gained off the tee ever makes up 50% of the scoring. The real difference is that around the green play bumped up a little bit from about 14% to 16%, but it's still not nearly as important as strokes gained approach. If we look just at the 3 tee to green stats, as far as other tee to green stats go, distance stands out. It's more important than driving accuracy for me this week, so I'm always curious to see where you land because our processes do differ here. But, I'm looking pretty much at the same exact stats I did last week for the Sanderson Farms. The only difference really is that the greens are different. They're bent grass, not Bermuda. So for me, my key stats are number 1, strokes gained approach as always, because it's just the most important stat. Tee to green every week. Driving distance, strokes gained putting on bent grass if you have that information. And then birdie or better rate because you need to score, and birdies lead to FanDuel scoring anyway.
Yeah, so we are on 3 of the 4 same stats. The one difference is I am not on distance. I think that it depends on what year you look at. I think I have to sneeze. I can't tell. Okay, I think it's gone. Anyway, if you look at 2020, the leaderboard was Kevin Na, 173rd for the full season in distance. Patrick Cantlay, 42nd. Pat Perez, 155th. Brian Stewart, 197. Bryce D Chambeau first. Adam Hadwin, 129. Brian Gay, 167. Webb Simpson, 108. Denny McCarthy, 132. It was a lot of guys who don't have that giddy up off the tee. In 2019, it was pretty even between distance and accuracy. It did skew towards distance there. And then back in 2018, it was more distance heavy than accuracy. However, based on the results last year, I did not want to exclude golfers who didn't have distance because, we saw last year that they can compete. So what I wound up going with was off the tee, just strokes gained off the tee. So we're kind of flipped actually from last week, where I was going more heavy on distance and you were off the tee. This week we're flipping roles. I'm going to go off the tee over distance. I'm not going to
I was on distance last week.
Oh, were you? Okay.
Yeah, it's the same. I just didn't have to change my notes really.
I know you said that you were on distance. I thought we had a disagreement about that.
I mean, distance makes up a good chunk of off the tee anyway. And
right.
Realistically, if you just look for guys who are good with approach, off the tee, and putting, you're probably in a better spot. I mean, it's just right. It can kind of be that simple.
And birdie or better rate is going to correlate in some ways to distance too, because if you bomb it, you're more likely to get birdies. So I'm still getting some distance in there with the off the tee and with the birdie or better rate. But I did wind up going off the tee kind of last year, made me a bit more skittish about going strict distance. But I also like I said, in 2020, 2018 and 2017. Both those years did skew towards distance. So I think if I were to pick, I would have picked distance. But just because of the way things worked out last year, I did wind up going off the tee. But I think also I'm okay downplaying off the tee play a little bit. I know, as you said, like it grades out being kind of average, but I'm okay making it a little bit less important within my process. So, maybe that's beneficial for some guys like Harris English, who is not that great off the tee. Maybe I bump him up a bit. Maybe I do just go at Webb a little bit more, just because I don't want to emphasize it as much. So I'm kind of selling out for approach play, selling out for those birdie makers. I think that's probably, that's, again, there's going to be some overlap there, but I think that's just the way I'm playing things here.
Yeah, and like the longer I look at golf and try to break down courses, obviously you can find what looks like the perfect formula for who's going to perform well, and you don't know which guys are going to perform at that level. So honestly, I cite this site all the time, but datagolf.com, they have a breakdown of what, how much scoring is explained by which of the strokes gain stats, and 70% basically every week is between putting and strokes gain approach, split about 35% each, which leaves like 15% each for off the tee and around the green. So, off the tee play alone is not enough. Strokes gain around the green is like not enough. It's generally approach. It's generally putting, and then it's kind of it depends on if it's more of a distance or accuracy course.
Yep. So I think that we're pretty close here this week. I think that birdie or better rate is something like, if you have access to that number, we get it from Fantasy National, but like if you have access to that, you kind of need to like sell out for that this week, just because it's going to go so low. Isn't Francesco Molinari back this week?
I don't know.
I'm just curious why he would pick this one as his comeback event. But it's not a Molinari. He's 83. That's not even low enough to tempt me. So it's not a Molinari type week. It's one where you want guys who are gonna go low.
Yeah.
With 4 weeks of NFL action in the books, we are officially through 1/4 of the 2020 season. That's wild. But there's still plenty of time to enter FanDuel's biggest NFL tournament, the Sunday Million. If you missed out on the first 4 weeks of the season, don't worry. The stage is set for you to play for a big payday in Week 5 for just $4.44. You can enter the Week 5 NFL Sunday Million and compete for your share of the $2.5 million prize pool, including a $1 million first place prize. With 12 games on the slate and superstars like Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Mike Davis set to take the field, there is no shortage of big-name fantasy players to build your lineups around. Just wondering if you catch that. For more details, FanDuel.com or download the FanDuel app today. Eligibility restrictions apply. As mentioned here, we do have a couple of golfers who have mopped up at Tpc Sutherland, so we're going to talk about them here at the top because they are good golfers. Shockingly, good golfers do well at certain courses. Who could have possibly predicted that? We're going to start things off here with Bryce D Chambeau. He is the heavy favorite. We'll talk about him. We'll talk about Patrick Cantlay, and then kind of sort through the studs in general for this week. So talk to me first about Bryce.
Yeah, we got some big boys in the field this week, and no golfer is bigger than Bryson right now. So
really.
Oh man.
Oh, come on, man. Bad.
But obviously deserves to be the favorite. Obviously deserves to have the highest salary on FanDuel at $12,200. He has finished top 7 3 straight years here with a win 2 years back. Has another 36th a year before the stretch began. That puts him in pretty elite territory for like any golfer on any course, really, if you're looking just at course form. But in only 2 of his 16 rounds at Tpc Sutherland did DeChambeau not gain strokes tee to green. So 14 out of 16, and both of those came back in 2016 when he finished 36th. So he's just been really good at this course, and obviously there are reasons to think that he can kind of improve on that with how he's golfing now. Among the field, he is tied for second in strokes gained tee to green at this course, but tied with your boy who you'll talk about in just a second. But I mean, what separates DeChambeau for me is the salary is really not that far different from anybody else. We know the current form's there. He leads the field In strokes gained off the tee, driving distance, birdie or better rate. He's also third in putting over the past 50 rounds. He is 12th on bent grass over 100 rounds, according to FantasyNational.com. I really see no issues with DeChambeau. The only issue is going to be how popular he is in tournaments. So talk to me about Cantlay, and we'll kick this one off looking at the top of the field.
Yeah, so Bryson, as you said, 3 straight top 7s. Cantlay has 3 straight top 2s. This is kind of his playground. In the past 5 years of the Shriners, nobody has gained more total strokes than Cantlay, even though he's played just 3 times in those 5 years. He has either won or finished runner-up all 3 times. He lost in a playoff to Kevin Na last year, finished second in 2019 or 2018, and then also won in 2017. So from a course history perspective, Cantlay is the number 1 guy. But the form is not as good as DeChambeau's. He's played eight events since the end of the COVID layoff. Just 1 top 10 in that time. Part of that has been putting, and Cantlay, not a bad bentgrass putter, 26th there over the past 100 rounds. But the ball striking has also been a bit spotty. And with that in mind, I think that I am willing to put DeChambeau kind of in a tier of his own. And I think it's a pretty serious discussion of whether I go with Webb or Cantlay as my number 2 option. So, Brandon, I think that for me, DeChambeau kind of in a tier of his own. Do you agree with that? And where do you put Webb relative to Cantlay?
Yes, DeChambeau's in a tier of his own. Okay. He's $300 higher in salary than Webb Simpson, and $500 over Cantlay. So for me, that's not really a big enough gap, especially with some value for me this week in the 8,000 range. I feel pretty solid with, all things considered. So Bryson, tier of his own. I might prefer Webb to Cantlay. The long-term form for Webb, if you don't look just at what they've done at this course, the long-term form favors Webb. I think Webb is, and it's so tough to project this out because Bryson's changed his game so much, but if you look at long-term form, Webb's about as good as Bryson. So I think he's about as likely to win as Bryson is. I think Cantlay will probably garner some extra attention because of the course form. So considering everything, considering how good Webb is, I'm going to go with Webb number 2 among the top 3.
And is Webb close enough to Bryson where you'd consider putting Webb over Bryson in tournaments? Because we know Bryson will be the most popular golfer in the field this week. There is no doubt about that, given his betting odds, given his salary. He's going to be number 1. Would you give thought to going with Webb over Bryson if you have like a single entry tournament, or would you try to get both? What are your thoughts with regards to tournaments for Bryson and Webb?
I think you can get both. Probably. I haven't really messed around with that yet, but I write at picks on numberFire, and I have Webb as an other to consider in the top range, and basically put him as, I said he's not long off the tee, but comes at a popularity discount from DeChambeau with similar win odds. So that's like the perfect pivot without getting too cute. I think you can build, what I would recommend probably is build a lineup with Bryson in it and then duplicate that in a tournament and sub him out for Webb.
Right.
You could possibly do that with Cantlay as well. I think that works, but I think Webb is not far enough from Bryson where he's unplayable in GPPs. But for a single lineup for cash games, it's Bryson.
For cash games, I think Bryson's a lock. You just build from there. I'd agree. Yeah. Let's move to some guys who could help you get to the salary of Bryson DeChambeau and maybe with Webb Simpson. We're talking about Luke List and Chesson Hadley. Luke List is $8,000. Chesson Hadley, $8,300. And you're going for distance this week. Luke List is in the field. Let's go, baby. What do you see here?
Yeah, the salary's down to $9,000 on FanDuel, which is a value number. That's not always. Look. I'm trying not to roster golfers who are bad putters, but List is in a good spot here with what he does at Tpc Sutherland. He's played here 3 times the past 4 years. He's finished 15th, 20th, and 13th. So you can't ask for a whole lot more than that at a salary of $9,000. In terms of just strokes gained tee to green average at Tpc Sutherland, he's 12th. He's actually 36th in putting. That's 12 rounds, so I'm not like getting ahead of myself, but he's gained strokes in half of those with the putter. He's lost more than 0.6 strokes putting just twice in a round out of those 12, which is like good news for Luke List. So if he can be even close to neutral with the putter, The tee to green game definitely can carry him to good finishes again. Over the past 50 rounds, he's 16th in strokes gained tee to green, 5th in opportunities gained, which is basically Fantasy National's stat for birdie chances. He's 4th in driving distance. So I don't know if we're trusting Luke List, but I do have a lot of interest in him.
Yeah, I think it's weird because Luke List is always a bad putter, but he's actually been worse than usual recently. And despite that, he's still made a good number of cuts. Like, he did miss a cut at Sanderson Farms, but I think he's made 6 of his past 8, despite losing like more than 4 strokes putting 3 times in that span. So he's always a bad putter. He's been worse than usual recently, which could hint at he could be due for some slight positive regression in the putting department, which might be good. And like you said, like the tee to green numbers have been awesome. So, like, if you look at List's numbers, I know the putting is bad. He's 64th in birdies or better gained, but that's also like that's a putting based stat. And I think at $9,000 we can afford to take on some of that risk. So I don't view List as a cash game play. I do not view him as being a core play for tournaments because there are golfers just beneath him who I like more. But I would say that List deserves tournament exposure in like the 20-ish% range. Like, I think that's fine, even with the imperfections, because weirdly, like, he's going to be a below average putter, but he's been much worse than below average recently. So maybe we'll get some slight uptick here.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. He's finished well. That scares me because List isn't always like, he's not like an off the radar play. If people see the finishes, which I'm sure they will, they might go to Luke List. So he might be a little more popular than I would like, but he's coming off a missed cut, so you never know.
Yeah,
and he's not going to be like 20% or anything. So
no. I'm
not that concerned. I'm just like regular level concerned with Luke List.
Yeah.
What helps is the salary.
Yeah, I think that's a big difference. It's like Luke List at 9,000 is a lot different than Luke List at 98 even, because like you have to kind of work your way up to the 9,800 golfers. For 9,000, like that's a value play. So I think even that $800 difference is significant. Let's talk about Chesson, who's even a bit cheaper at $8,300. He burned me really badly last week. But we're going to a spot where Chesson Hadley has had success before. He's been to TPC Sutherland for the past 5 seasons. He has top 20s in 3 of those, including a pair of top 10s. And he could have had a third top 10 last year. He was third in the field with 10.8 strokes gained tee to green, but he lost 4.7 with a putter and finished 17th. So if you can lose 4.7 putting and still finish 17th, that says you did really well elsewhere. That is the risk with Hadley. The putter is not going to be good, and he's coming off a missed cut in which like his ball striking numbers were really bad in that missed cut. But he's $8,300. So is that low enough for you to buy Hadley on the bounce back here?
I mean, I wasn't in on Hadley. I think we actually had a bet on Hadley.
We might have. I liked him a lot last week. I used him in cash. I used him in the bobblehead, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. I'm just not there. He loses so many strokes around the green that it's difficult for me. I don't really look at around the green, but I mean, he's lost 3.8 and 3.9 in 2 of his past 4. Like, he can just be dreadful. And when he gets in close, the ball striking is not necessarily good enough for me to think that he'll be in birdie position. So,
well, he's 10th in birdies or better gained the past 50 rounds.
I'm just saying, like, the more recent form, is not quite there, and his worst putting surface is bent grass. Yeah,
I think because he's $8,300, I will be willing to go here. But I
like other golfers too much, I think.
In the low 8,000 range?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. Maybe we can circle back to that with a bet later on once we have a better idea of who that is. But I think that because the salary is so low, I'm willing to go here. He will not be – I'm not as enthusiastic about using him as I would have been had last week not happened, given how bad the ball striking was.
1 week samples are not very predictive in golf. I dare say they're not predictive at all. So that should give you
They're predictive in my heart, Brandon. Like, it still hurts.
I think having
So Sebastian Munoz goes 15 over when you have him in your bobble hat lineup, how willing are you to be like, oh, it's fine? Like, how much does your heart hurt when you just decide to go back?
Well, with Munoz, it never hurts.
Okay, fair enough. A bad example. Cheston's not on Munoz's level from an adoration perspective.
Yeah. But for me, like, I think having access to round by round stuff can be a little more, it can do a little more harm than good, because we know that the more predictive samples are kind of like 1 to 2 years, honestly, which I know we never want to dig back into what guys have been doing, 2 years ago. But I think one round is not enough. It's just more for me with Hadley, I not really there to begin with, because I do like other golfers.
Well, again, I'm saying I'm still willing to use him despite that. I'm just not as enthusiastic because it hurts.
No, I got you. You're all in on Justin Hadley.
No. Let's not spread vile rumors here.
I got
vile rummers. Let's move into current form and talk about some golfers back up in the stud range, because we talked about Bryce D Chambeau maybe getting with Webb Simpson, but there are some golfers you can turn to instead if you want a bit more balance. One of them could be Ricky Fowler, Brandon, and we haven't really been huge Ricky people recently because some of the stats were underwhelming, but it looks like maybe we're getting some improvement there. So what do you see in Ricky recently with Ricky at 10-6 for this week?
Yeah, I keep looking at Ricky, so maybe I need to stick with Ricky this week when you ask me for my win picks, even though it seems really, really strange. But he's been off the radar for us for a while because of the ball striking, but I'm starting to buy back in a bit. It helps that he's at a course where we've seen him do something. He finished fourth here 2 years ago. But over his past 24 rounds, which I know is recent, he's 20th in the field in strokes gained tee to green. But he's 90th in putting, which is abnormal for Ricky Fowler. He's usually an elite putter. So we could be looking at a regression spot here. Now, to clarify, he's 41st in ball striking, which is strokes gained off the tee and strokes gained approach combined. But he's 9th in strokes gained around the green, which is a little bit of a red flag for sure. But around the green play is a little bit elevated this week as well. So kind of helps me there. But Fowler was 15th at the WGC St. Jude, missed the cut at the PGA, then 49th at the Northern Trust and the US Open, despite gaining 4.8 strokes tee to green or more in 2 of them. He was 19th at the US Open in strokes gained tee to green, which is pretty good for Ricky Fowler because it's not really what his strength is right now, the tee to green play, but doing that at the US Open is definitely something that I take note of. And, his best putting surface is bent grass. And, we usually kind of say that like tongue in cheek with guys.
We'll say like it's his least bad.
Yeah, but like he's 13th in the field in bent grass putting over the past 100 rounds. So I don't full on love Ricky Fowler, but I'm really, really intrigued for him at the salary. So, and he's kind of a balanced golfer right now, which is not what he's been. So I'm going to talk myself into Ricky. What about you?
Yeah, I think that among golfers like right around him, he'd probably be my favorite. Like I like him more than Paul Casey, which is saying a lot for me. I get so frustrated with him sometimes. I like him more than Jason Day, even though we did have a day kick at some point during the summer. I prefer Ricky over Day. But the problem is like the guys above him, I'd rather just try to find the money to get to like Harris English and Matthew Wolfe. So let me talk to you about Wolfe here. We can talk about this tier a bit more. What? I
don't consider Wolfe in this game.
I know that's what I'm saying though. It's like I'd rather just find the salary to get to.
Okay, talk to me about Matthew Wolfe.
All right, so he's been on our radar for a while now from a form perspective, but he just keeps on paying off. So we should probably just keep on talking about him. Dating back to the start of July, Wolfe has 3 top 5s in the past 9 events, and he was 12th in another. And importantly, he's doing that with his approach play. In the past 5 events, Wolfe has gained an average of 3 strokes on approach. He gained 7 in both the PGA and the US Open, which are really good fields, obviously. Wolfe's off the tee play has always been good, but the sample on him being good elsewhere is growing. It's getting bigger. So he's 11-1. Personally, I'd rather find the salary to get up to Wolfe than go to someone like Fowler. What about you? Where do you sit with Matthew Wolfe right now?
I think Wolfe Price considered is my favorite play in the field.
Okay.
Maybe not over Bryson, just because I'll play Bryson at 12-7 basically. But yeah, I mean, Matthew Wolfe just does what I'm looking for. He's very, very similar to Bryson in that he's super long off the tee and he's a good putter. And I don't think people really realize that. I think a lot of what sticks in people's minds is Matthew Wolfe missing putts, specifically at the PGA, that kind of took him out of it. But he's
the stick in your mind because you had a ticket on Matthew Wolfe, or was that? Did you have him at the U.S. Open?
Both.
Okay.
But I had more Cal at the PGA, so
which fine then.
But yeah, I think Wolfe. I'll talk more about him. He's going to be my number one player pick in the stud range, and I'll elaborate a little bit more there.
So at the U.S. Open, my lineup started with, or my single entry lineup started with Bryson and Wolfe, and just kind of like figured it out from there. I might do that again this week. I think that Wolfe is just a really good play. And
yeah, I was going to say. Good.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I think Bryson, Wolfe, Ricky is tempting me a lot.
But I guess if you like the lower salary guys a lot, that could work. So let's talk about some lower salary guys here. You got Denny McCarthy and Harold Varner III. You're going to talk about McCarthy. I'll talk about Varner, and then we'll discuss this low 9,000 range more broadly. What do you see with Denny?
Yeah, Denny McCarthy, 9,200 on FanDuel. We usually gloss right over McCarthy because all he does is putt well. So he's kind of in that similar mold to Ricky Fowler. Not a short game, or he's a short gamer, not a bomber. But there's been a shift in his data that's interesting to me over the past 50 rounds, which is the sample I usually go with. He's 115th in strokes gained tee to green, 108th off the tee, and 92nd in approach, which is usually bad enough to take him right off the list. But over the past 24 rounds, he is 31st tee to green, 61st off the tee, and 14th in approach. He has gained strokes from ball striking in 75% of those 24 rounds. He's averaged 0.77 strokes per round putting on bent grass over 59 rounds in his career. We know he can putt well. He almost always putts really, really well. But if he is viable tee to green, if the approach is above average, that is very intriguing for somebody who can make birdies. He's 27, which is relevant to me because he's still possibly young enough where we can buy into, he's figuring some things out with his game. Small samples with older guys are usually just blips, but with younger guys, they can indicate a shift. So I'm usually not in on McCarthy, but the salary of 92 is really enticing to me with the very recent form. So I don't know if you want to talk about Varner, and then we'll kind of talk. All right, talk to me about our boy Harold Varner III.
So we have McCarthy and then his antithesis, Harold Varner III.
Yeah,
and he hasn't had his usual stellar play off the tee recently, but even with that, he's getting really good finishes, and the irons are to thank for that with HV3, and it makes him interesting here at 9,000. He's had 10 events since the end of the COVID layoff, and Varner's gained an average of 0.9 strokes off the tee, which is below average for him. But he's at 2.1 in approach, which helped him pick up a 7th place finish at the Wyndham. Overall, in the past 50 rounds, Varner is 15th in the field off the tee and 7th in approach. He is 30th in birdies or better gained, despite the poor putting because the ball striking has been so good. So there are no negatives with Varner's game, but he has the tools to sometimes overcome them. So, Brandon, I think that it's an interesting discussion to talk about McCarthy and Varner because, like we said, they take very different routes in getting there, but they're both top 30 in birdie or better rate. I find it very interesting because McCarthy is 23rd in birdie or better rate, or birdies or better gained over the past 50 rounds, despite the fact that he's still 89th in approach. Like you said, that approach play, though, has been better in the more recent sample. So I kind of am warming pretty rapidly to McCarthy because of what you discussed. And I don't know. I think that I'm very good with using him for this week. Like you said, 27 is not that old. Maybe we could see some improvements there. And I could have considered doing a Varner versus McCarthy bet, but I honestly don't know if I'd want to take that because McCarthy is kind of intriguing, which is weird. What are your thoughts on these two guys?
Yeah, I like Varner too, but I mean with McCarthy, like if you go through his event log, like he lost 2.1 strokes putting at the Northern Trust. He lost 0.3 at the Arnold Palmer over 2 rounds. And then 1.8 at the Northern Trust. So since last August, over, I don't know, like 30 events, he's lost strokes putting 3 times.
Yeah.
And kind of just barely. Like, we've undergone a big shift with how we view putting, and I don't like the idea of rostering golfers who only putt well.
Right.
But, I mean, he kind of made a shift. He started off ice cold with the irons coming back from the hiatus, but since the 3M, he gained 1.7, 1.27, which I know is boosting things a lot. 2.9, lost 1.2, but gained 1.3 last week at the Sanderson Farms. Like, I don't think it's unrealistic that, there's a real shift. And if not, like, if he's neutral tee to green and putting well, like that works too.
Right, I think that gives him a high floor, which is kind of the different, not a high floor, but like a good floor for a $9,200 golfer.
Yeah.
So I think that might be the difference maker for me between him and Varner, is that I feel like if I have a high variance lineup, like I don't know what a good example of this would be because I haven't thought too much about this, but if I have a high variance lineup and I have a sixth golfer I want to plug in who I can feel pretty good about, not killing me if those 5 other guys pay off, the higher variance guys pay off, I would definitely go with McCarthy over Varner there. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, we got Varner, we got List, we got Keegan, and then we got Denny McCarthy. Like
Keegan's not. No, I'm not going at Keegan. But I think that of those 3, I'd probably go McCarthy 1, Varner 2, List 3. What about you?
I'm not there yet because I like Sam Burns. I like Sebastian Munoz. They're 92 and 9,300 respectively. But I'm warming up.
I meant to those 3 because
I know.
I think that Munoz is probably better too.
Yeah, but of the 3, I might still put Varner first.
Okay.
But McCarthy's really getting closer for me. So I really want to keep an eye on his more recent form.
Yeah, I think that's it's really, especially because like there was a pretty long time off, and so like you mentioned that he wasn't super on right away, but like there was time for golfers to work on things, and you said coming out of the break that you were looking for golfers who may have made adjustments in that time. Maybe McCarthy is one of those guys. So I am open to it for sure, and willing to accept some good putting in my lineups. I can sweat less. As I'm watching Shot Tracker. So I think that's beneficial. But I think that McCarthy I'm open to it for sure. Let's take a look at what the bookmakers are saying here for the Shriners. Bryce D Chambeau, the heavy favorite of the FanDuel Sportsbook. He is plus 750. Nobody else is shorter than 16-1. That is Webb Simpson at 16-1. Yep, Colin Morikawa Bunga, as you would say, and Patrick Cantlay at 18-1. Tony Finau is 20-1, followed by Hideki Matsuyama at 22-1. Harris English and Matthew Wolfe are 28-1. And then Scotty Scheffler closes out the top group at 30-1. So we talked about DeChambeau, we talked about Cantlay and Webb earlier. Are you jamming in 2 of those guys, or are we going more balanced here?
I think this week you probably try to get 2 of them. For me, that's DeChambeau and Wolfe at the top.
Okay.
Because Wolfe is, the salary's down from, Webb and Cantlay. But I think price considered, like I said, Wolfe is probably my favorite play outside of DeChambeau. I can go Bryson, Wolfe, and Ricky, who I know you didn't mention. It's a little bit problematic. I can still do it because there are some golfers who I feel good with, but I think it's
obviously.
I think it's a week where you play 2 of these, and if you're really playing a lot of tournaments, like not all of these golfers will be talked up. They'll not all be touted come Thursday.
I think Morikawa is decently likely to fly under the radar, right?
I was just going to say, we haven't mentioned Morikawa.
I like Morikawa.
I do too. It's very easy to like Morikawa. It's just whenever you compare him to other golfers, he can get, he can slip by. Tony Finau I like a lot as a course fit. Hideki's always intriguing from a, DFS standpoint. Still can't really get there with the betting because of the putter, but what do I know? Maybe he'll close his eyes and figure some stuff out. But Yeah, I think this week is a 2-stud week for sure.
And I think that it's probably going to be the 2 studs for me will probably be 10-9 or higher. I'm not unwilling to use Scotty Scheffler, but like I think that like Harris English is kind of where the fall off gets for me. I don't know if I'm just way off on Harris English, but we can talk about him later. But I think I want 2 guys at 10-9 or higher in every lineup. I would probably go, I mean, DeChambeau is number 1. I would go Webb 2. Actually, no.
Cantlay.
No, I decided to go Webb. I changed my mind. Webb 2. It's between.
You changed your mind when you got more information?
Yeah, I know. I'm the worst. I hate those people. Those people who consider other information, they suck. I would say I either want Morikawa or Wolfe, number 3. Like maybe I put them over Cantlay just because I expect Cantlay to be more popular and he's a little bit higher salaried. So I think that's where I'm at with Morikawa and Wolfe, where I think they're really good options. And I know we haven't talked about Morikawa, but I think we should maybe more.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he deserves it.
Yeah.
But I can't mention everyone.
Right.
I like Tony Finau from a DFS standpoint. So let me ask you this.
Okay.
Do you think it's a week to pick like 4 to 5 value plays to focus on? And
that's the tough part is I don't feel great about any one value play. So because I was thinking about this because I want to have like you were just about to ask this. I want to have a core of studs or a core of value plays. I don't feel good enough about the value plays to make them my core, so I think I have to decide.
Okay.
And commit to the studs. What about you?
Me.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's why it's tough. If not, we would say, oh yeah, we love Wolfe, we love Bryson, we love Cantlay, Webb, Morikawa, Finau, like play them all. It's like it doesn't help anybody. So It's more, are you picking 3 to 4 studs, or are you picking like 3 to 4 or 5 values and then trying to rotate in all the studs and hit that right combo? And I think it's probably narrow down the studs and open yourself up for the values.
I agree. I think that's where I'm at too, which is the way I tend to play things, but it's tough given how fun the studs are for this week. But I think that given my level of confidence in the value plays, it just I'm forced to go that route. We've seen a lot of movement since things opened. I know like Webb was 10 and he's now 16. What have been the most significant moves since open?
Yeah, almost everybody moved some way. But Webb, like you said, was 10. He's now 16. Sergio Garcia coming off the win and Sungjae Im both fell from 33 to 40 on FanDuel Sportsbook. Paul Casey from 33 to 42. Jason Kokrak, 41 to 50. Brian Harmon, 55 to 80. Keegan Radley, your boy, 65 to 80. Sam Burns.
You said that while I was taking a sip of coffee. You can't assign me people without my consent while I'm drinking coffee.
I feel like when we started the podcast, you loved Keegan.
The heat check isn't like 4 or 5 years ago?
Yeah.
Yes, I did. I have evolved. I have been hurt.
You changed your mind with new information?
I have been hurt so many times by that man. Like we're still pen pals. You know, we exchanged letters. Not
you have a back and forth.
No, yes. We exchanged letters. But I'm not going to use them DFS.
Can he like put a letter in a mailbox or?
Maybe that's why he hasn't been getting back to me. I thought it was because I was just being a weird creep, but maybe I don't know.
I mean, he can get to the mailbox. You just can't get the letter in.
Yes, exactly. I feel better now knowing that that's why he hasn't responded in a decade.
Sam Burns, and this is. Well, I'll say Ches Reavie because his movement's a little smaller, but 65 to 120. But Sam Burns 70 to 160, and I like Sam Burns this week. So I don't know what this means to me, but I mean I can see like 70 to 100 or 120, but 160 makes me think maybe I'm missing something. But as far as guys whose odds have shortened, that's a pretty small list. But Colin Morikawa from 20 to 18. Aaron Wise from 80 to 70, Russell Henley from 50 to 42, and your boy Christopher Ventura, 80 to 65.
No, I did not just sign up for any of this. I'm ignoring that. Morikawa, where does he grade out for you? Like we're talking about how we need to potentially prioritize the studs. where is he for you, excluding DeChambeau? Like, let's lop off DeChambeau. Where does Morikawa rank for you in that second group?
I would still put him probably behind Webb, just because I love Webb. And this is tough because I don't want to just mention everyone who's above 11, but I might prefer him to Cantlay.
I think I do too, because like I'm trying to lower my list, and like we said, since the COVID layoff, Cantlay's form hasn't been as good as Morikawa's, and I'm okay. And again, I think Cantlay's going to be very popular this week because of the course history.
Yeah.
So I'd rather go Morikawa over Cantlay. I think for me, it's the 4 I'm going to commit to. If I'm going to commit to 4, would be Bryson, Webb, Morikawa, Wolfe. I think those are my 4.
Yeah, I'd be there with you. So,
Okay.
I mean, it feels a little unfun to be on them.
We disagreed plenty, so I think we're okay. Which golfers with lower salaries have odds to stand out to you?
Among golfers at 9,000 or below on FanDuel, Ventura is 65 to 1 at 8,800. Aaron Wise now 70 to 1 at 86. Harold Varner, Brendan Steele, Lonto Griffin, Cameron Chambeau 80 to 1. Matt Kucher is 85 and Brandt Snedeker is 95. Sometimes I don't love this list of golfers, but I do like Varner, I do like Lonto, I do like Cameron Champ, and I do like Matt Kucher.
Usually you're an Aaron Wise guy. I didn't mean like a wise guy.
Not usually, but
you can occasionally dabble your toes. How about that?
Yeah, I bet him last week.
Yeah, he's good. Are you not going back this week because there are enough other options in that range?
Yeah, he's got a lot of issues, and I think his odds are always a little bit elevated because of the actual win potential, and he's done it. So, I mean,
okay,
I don't hate it, but I'm not particularly sold on Aaron Wise or anything.
Okay, so weather for this week, there is a little wind over the weekend, but it's not enough for us to worry about. Like, it's going to get above 10 miles per hour, but I wouldn't say it's a situation where you need to look at splits and heavy wind. It should be pretty fine. So I would say we are good to dive into our player picks for the Shriners Hospitals for Children Open. Brandon, when we look at the upper tier on FanDuel, who stands out to you?
I'm going to stick with Matthew Wolfe at 11-1. He does what I want. He's pretty affordable for being a stud. So, like, we know he was in the final pairing with DeChambeau at the US Open. It didn't pan out, but was 18th here last year, picked up 4.5 strokes tee to green. He's first in my stats only model, which is always intriguing. And he's gained at least 7.1 strokes tee to green at the past 2 majors. Just always gains like 2+ strokes off the tee. So price considered, if I could only roster one golfer above 11 in a tournament, it would be Wolfe, and I would just play the angle of a Bryson fade. But I think, as you're about to tell me, it's pretty hard to get away from Bryson this week. And
I think that I can pair the two together. Like, single entry, I might be tempted at Morikawa just because I feel like he has good odds to fly under the radar. But if I'm playing things not considering that, it would be Bryson with Wolfe. It's not a strictly distance course, at least for me, but Bryson does more than just that. Specifically, the putter grades out really well relative to the other studs. He is 10th in bent grass putting over the past 100 rounds, and nobody else above 10-9 is better than 26th in that sample. That is in addition to being first off the tee, first in birdies or better gained the past 50 rounds. The approach play does have its ups and downs, but with what he does elsewhere, I am good with putting Bryson in tier of his own at 12-2. I would say he's a lock for cash games, and I have no real desire to be underweight in tournaments. Any final thoughts for you on Bryson?
I think he's the best play, but he's going to be very popular on fansharesports.com. He's out to it's early, so I'll just say these, but he's got 10 tags on Fanshare, and nobody else has more than 6.
Yeah. Like, based on your research, we know he'll be very popular. Like, he'll push 40. I would not be shocked if he exceeded 40.
Scheffler was, I think, 43 last week, which made sense given the lack of options, but I think 40 is about accurate. And, I mean, look, the odds that Bryson misses the cut are pretty low, but if you just play the angle that he misses the cut, you could be kind of avoiding 40% of lineups potentially. So it's always tempting. It's always tempting.
If you're fighting against 60% of the field, if he misses the cut and 20% cash, like that's a good ratio. You need to nail your other golfers, which makes it not as easy, but there is validity to not using Bryson, but personally I'll be overweight. Who else stands out to you in this upper tier?
So I struggled with this one because I didn't want to just mention everyone who's super high in salary. I think we're on the same page where is it Bryson, Webb, Morikawa for us in the top 3? Is that where we are?
Well, Wolfe.
Wolfe. Bryson.
I have not honestly sorted out how I want to rank Webb, Morikawa, and Wolfe, but I'm pretty firm in having them 2, 3, 4 in some order.
Okay, I'll say Bryson, Wolfe, Webb, Morikawa. Those are my top 4.
Okay,
but if you're not rostering multiple golfers in that range, or you can't get 3 and you think Bryson's a no-brainer, I think I'm going to go with Ricky at 10-6. Gives us a little bit of salary relief. He's gained 4.8 strokes tee to green in 4 of his past 7 events, which is really strong for Ricky. He's an elite bent grass putter, ranking 13th over a 100-round sample, and he doesn't really seem like someone who's long off the tee, but he's 62nd in this field in distance gained over the past 50 rounds, 40th in fairways gained, 32nd in birdie or better rate. And we talk balanced golfers more and more. There's really nothing he does poorly. He's 67th in strokes gained approach over the past 50 rounds. It's trending up. I could be buying into just some variance in his data, but I think for the salary in this field, I like Ricky well enough to go there. I don't know how easy it's going to be to get to him because I want to roster two of the studs, but there are viable plays in the 8,000 range to make that lineup work.
I think what I might try to do is try to get the extra 300 to get to Harris English. We haven't really talked about him. I think I'm higher than you because I'm not emphasizing distance, but because we know English is not going to gain off the tee. But I think based on what we saw last year, given the golfers who competed, I'm okay having lineups where I de-emphasize it. Maybe I start with Webb as my number 1 stud, and then English at number 2, kind of playing the same thing as the U.S. Open, except the opposite, where I sold out for distance with a distance stack. Maybe I do a not great off the tee stack for this week. In 10 events since the end of the COVID layoff, English has finished worse than 23rd just twice. He was a missed cut once. He was 40th in the other. And that's some tough events, too, because he was 19th at the PGA Championship. He was 12th at the Tour Championship and 4th at the U.S. Open. A lot of that has been fueled by putting, but English is second in the field in putting on bent grass the past 100 rounds. So at 10-9, I think it's a very fair salary for what he's been doing. And I am intrigued by going with a Webb English stack in a sense that I'm just downplaying off the tee play. I know you've not mentioned English yet. Any interest for you or no?
Yeah, I almost put him, in my picks as well. He's borderline there for me. The issue is it's 200 to get to Wolfe, and I will probably do that every time. Yeah. It's going to be really hard to play Matthew Wolfe and instead play Harris English. Although Harris English, he's flushing it. He's in a really good. His game is just in a really good spot right now. So I wouldn't fight you for liking Harris English. I think the bigger question for me is English or Scheffler. I should probably lean Harris English because it's not that different tee to green.
Right.
And we know that English is a great putter. So I might make that change. I had Scheffler as another for someone to sort of pivot to after a mediocre showing, but I think I might go with English over Scheffler now.
All right. I like it. Let's move down to the mid-range. Who stands out to you there on FanDuel?
I'm going to go with Abraham Answer. His salary is $9,800. I'm trying to simplify this one. It's very easy to overthink all these plays, but Answer has really good long-term form, the best of any golfer between 9 and 10,000 on FanDuel. So I think he's just in the mix from that perspective, even though he's not long off the tee, and that is something that I value. He's 82nd in distance gained over the past 50 rounds, but because he's so accurate, he's 18th in strokes gained off the tee. So that kind of helps me with the concerns there. He's made just one cut here at Tpc Sutherland, but has finished 4th in it in 2018. He's been not amazing lately, but he's viable on bent grass. He's been solid tee to green. I think he's like a high floor play. And if Answer clicks with what he had been doing at all, the upside is pretty obvious as well.
I do like Answer. I have a slight preference, though, for Joaquin Niemann. So let's talk about him because we're back on bent grass, which means we're back in on Joaquin Niemann. The approach play has been some off and some on recently, but over the larger sample, he is 13th in this field in approach and 31st off the tee. So I think we can expect the ball striking to be good. That's helped Niemann sit 35th in birdies or better gain, despite the fact that he can't putt on any other surface. He's 31st in bent grass putting, so even as the sample's gotten larger, he still continued to grade out well there. Finished 10th at TPC Sutherland 2 years ago when he was still like 5 years old, so he knows the course. I'm good with Niemann at 9.8. I'm also okay with Answer, but prefer Niemann over him. Do you prefer Answer or Niemann?
You want to do a head-to-head?
Yeah. You want Answer and I want Niemann?
Yeah, based on the context, I think that's where that bet was going.
Sorry, my door just came open, and I didn't know if, like, my puppy was coming in, and I was very concerned because, like, sometimes she'll knock the lights out.
Yeah, gotta move.
No, we're good.
You gotta move.
I'll do the yeah, it's a ghost. I'll do the head-to-head. Niemann over Answer for me.
Okay. I like Niemann fine. I like Niemann fine, but I prefer Answer.
My voice is very scary for her, so I'm going to shut the door. While I do that, who else do you have in the middle range?
Well, speaking of something scary, I like Sam Burns, but I don't know what's going on with it.
Sam Boo Earns. Happy Halloween.
Oh, my God. Just go shut the door. 9,200 on FanDuel was 70-1, is now 160-1 on FanDuel Sportsbook. And this range between like 9 and 10,000 doesn't have a ton of golfers who just launch it, but Burns is one of them. He's 6th in driving distance gained over the past 50 rounds. He's 20th in birdie or better rates. Did miss the cut last week, so I think that would do well to limit his popularity. But 42nd in bent grass putting, I'm probably missing something, but I don't mind Sam Burns at all at 92.
Are you going to bet him now that his odds lengthened or no? I don't know, because you obviously have a different book, but maybe they haven't lengthened as much as yours, but are you tempted by him at 160 from a betting perspective?
Betting long shots like that is not necessarily...
You could probably get a really good top 10 number on
great process. Yeah. I mean, we were talking before the show. I don't bet top 10s as much as I probably should.
Unless it's Xinjiang Zhang.
Unless it's Xinjiang Zhang. But, I mean, I'd consider it. Like, realistically, he's not that likely to win. There's probably some value on something at like 160, but overall for me, I'm usually living in that like 30 to 50 range.
Okay, so let's talk about Doc Redman here, who should be the 30 to 50 range, obviously. He keeps on playing well, so I'm going to keep on using him. In the past 10 events, Redman has gained an average of 1.3 strokes off the tee and 2.8 on approach, and the putting has also been solid recently, which could be fluky because putting can be volatile, but it's pushing up to 65th in bent grass putting the past 100 rounds. Not 100 rounds for him, obviously, because he's younger. But thanks to that putting and the approach, Redman is also 16th in the field in birdies or better gain the past 50 rounds. So we know he can go low. That's what I want for this weekend. I am very good with Redman at $9,400. Are you in on him there?
Yeah, I like that. It's kind of tough, though, because the low 9,000 range is a little better than I thought it was.
Yeah.
With Redman, Munoz, possibly Denny McCarthy, still Sam Burns, Varner, like possibly Luke List. Like,
yeah,
I might need to prioritize them, but I still think the 8,000 range is pretty viable. But yeah,
do you want to add a Redman versus Munoz, or do you prefer Redman?
I mean, I probably prefer I should prefer Redman, but I probably
no,
would.
we can stay off if you prefer Redman.
Yeah, don't bully me into that, Jim.
I just literally I backed off. No bullying here. Get out of here. Okay, value range. Who do you have there?
I'm gonna go with Harold Varner actually.
Okay, cool.
He's a pretty balanced golfer, like tee to green. Definitely not a balanced. And if we look at putting, but I think we can weather the disaster on the green because he's so good. Tee to green for the salary. He's 51st in distance, which is good enough for me. He's 30th in birdie or better rate gained, 15th off the tee, 7th in approach. He's made 4 or 5 cuts at this course. I think Varner is one of the best value plays yet again, but I understand why the salary is what it is because you never know what you're going to get with the putter.
Yeah, I like Varner too, despite that. I think that, like you said, he can kind of make up for it. So I'll be in on Varner for sure. I also like Brendan Steele, who we've not talked about. Bentgrass is the worst surface for Steele, so maybe we shouldn't. But that's probably going to be just a no negative here. But I think the rest of the game is solid enough. Steele's actually 6th in the field in approach the past 50 rounds. That's helped him be 25th in birdies or better gained despite the bad putting. And his off the tee play has also been getting better. He's at 0.7 gained per event over the past 10 after being pretty poor there over the winter. So he's $8,900. I think that both he and Varner are really solid options in this range. Brandon, are you okay with Steele despite the weird putting, or where do you sit on him?
I'm probably not getting there. I like a few other golfers more. It's less to do with Steele and more that I feel better with other golfers. So okay. I can only play so many. And I think it's just Steele's not doing enough for me relative to some other golfers.
Who are some of those other golfers? Let's talk about your second low salary guy.
Well, it's going to be Matt Kucher, which feels strange.
At 8.8 as opposed to 10.8?
Yeah, I think the hate's gone a little too far on Kucher for what he's done statistically. The finishes don't look great. Missed the cut at the PGA and the US Open. 59th at the BMW, but 18th at the Northern Trust. He's gained 4.6 strokes from approach at Winged Foot, though, at the U.S. Open. Was 36th in strokes gained putting on bent grass over the past 100 rounds. And according to Data Golf, he's 36th in the world based on their numbers. He's like 41st just in this field and salary. I think I'm going to try to keep it simple. Trust the long-term form. He's a good putter. The irons aren't completely terrible. He's 60th there. I think I just take the savings, I guess.
Yeah, I think that maybe this is a good spot just to buy low on a good golfer, and we can make jokes about Kuch for a lot of things, but he is legitimately a good golfer. So I can get behind that for sure, especially when alternatives are guys like Joel Damon. So let's talk about Joel Damon. He's had some nightmarish numbers recently, really, really bad events. So I'm not really trying to get here in cash games, but I'm good with it for tournaments because the spike weeks have been there too. Basically, Damon just got torched at Muirfield, the Workday Charity Open and the Memorial. He was legit horrible there, but he hasn't really put it all together since then. But even when you include the bad performances there, Damon is still 20th off the tee, 30th in approach, and 24th in birdies or better gained the past 50 rounds. The putting has also been better since the end of the COVID layoff, which may not stick, but he's $8,500. You're not going to find a perfect putter there. I think I'm in on Damon despite the inconsistency in the ball striking. What about you?
Yeah, I wouldn't talk anyone out of Damon pretty much ever, especially when the salary is where it should be for Joel Damon. I don't think I'm going to play him a lot. I think there are other names around him who are appealing, specifically Cameron Champ. I would just go for the upside with Champ, I think, over Damon, although Damon definitely has top 15s in him. And I feel like this. Ben on.
I looked at him.
I don't mind Taylor Gooch. I'll go back to Taylor Gooch this week as well at 84.
Yeah.
So again, I'm not.
Gooch isn't bad.
Yeah, I'm not out on Damon, but I can't recommend everyone here. So I think Damon would kind of just fall outside my top 4 or so in the 8,000 range.
So you said Ben on, Gooch are the guys you're looking at outside of the player picks for this range?
Cameron Champ, Gooch.
Are you on Monto this week?
Yeah.
Okay. I think it's a pretty good list of golfers because, again, I think that our strategy is to commit to studs and rotate through in the bottom end because, again, there aren't really any perfect options down here. You probably talk me into Kucher, though. I think that's a pretty good way to play it. I know it doesn't feel great, but
yeah.
I think that works. So, yeah, I can get behind this. I'm feeling pretty good about this event. How about you?
Yeah, I think you got to figure out the studs you want to play, and then get that list of values and
the list of values, huh?
Yeah.
Nope.
And just hope you hit the right studs, and then through multiple entries, hit on the values. But if you don't build multiple entries for tournaments, possibly fade Bryson, see what happens. It's going to be really hard. If Bryson wins this, it'll be very hard to, get a winning lineup because you have to hit on the right 5. It's going to be way simpler for you to win a tournament or, place top 5 if you don't play Bryson and he were to miss the cut somehow.
So single entry, Bryson, yay or nay?
I think single entry, you just probably don't play him and hope that he doesn't win. But if you're doing that, you got to play someone like Webb or Morikawa who can realistically win this thing.
Right, because you need that 30 points to the win.
Yeah, I don't think it's a week where you go full balance because so much of the win equity is tied up in like the top, let's say just 10 roughly golfers. You're going to need probably 2 of them in your lineup and hit on the winner, probably the runner-up as well to really separate.
Perfect. Let's finish up here with win picks. You have honor because you won the bobble hat yet again. I'm going to lop off Bryson. I'm sorry. Don't.
So now, if Bryson wins,
no.
If Bryson wins, I have no shot of picking up a win.
No. We're lopping off Bryson, and then we'll do anyone. Let's do 60 because why not? I'm feeling a little spicy.
I love how you're like
spicy.
You're like you're in the driver's seat here, so you're making all the rules.
Hey man, you host the podcast, you can make the rules. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, so if it's got to be 60, I feel like I just got to do it and go with Kucher. Okay,
it's fair. So you have Kuch, which means that I'm going to pick someone at the top end in order to block you. This format, I think, makes more sense for Cantlay than it would in other stuff, but I think I actually am going to go with Webb. I feel good about Webb. If I can't go with Bryson, I think that Webb would be my second pick to win. So
cool. Good stuff.
Were you going to pick Webb?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. So you have, I totally forgot. You said Kuch. Okay. So you have Kuch. I've got Webb. Who do you want for your shorter golfer?
I will go. I mean, I like Wolfe. It could be Morikawa. It could be Wolfe.
Oh man, these longer picks are awful.
I know, that's why I went with Kucher just to get something. But, I will go with. I'm gonna trust myself. I'm not gonna go with the best pick in the model. I'm gonna go with Wolfe over Morikawa.
Okay, so you have Kuch and Wolfe. I have
Kuch and Wolfe.
Webb, Simpson, and sorry, I'm double checking some things here. I'm gonna go Doc. The Doc is in. Doc Redman.
Doc Redman
is gonna win it. I will say that I considered McCarthy. I kind of hated myself for it, but I'm gonna go Doc Redman as the winner.
Okay.
I don't feel great about my win picks. I feel good about Webb. I don't feel great about Doc. I should have made a 50. Like 50 would have opened up. Oh, the Coke rack. Heck yeah, man. Neiman and Answer would have been there. Zalatoris would have been in play.
Yeah.
But, you can't make things easy. Why make things easy when we can instead make them difficult?
Yeah, this is going to be a week where it's like I should have just my win model has, I think, Cantlay, Morikawa.
Oh, so this is swing season, which means that Cantlay is now guaranteed to win? Is that how this works? Your witchcraft is transferred to Cantlay?
Like, usually I go with just whoever is most likely to win because it makes the most sense when we're just trying to pick winners and odds don't matter. But I'm going to go with Wolfe. And I feel like it's going to be Cantlay or possibly Morikawa, and Wolfe will miss the cut.
So I don't care what book you have. Like if you go right now and Patrick Cantlay is 2-1, you bet it. Like there's no way he's losing. Yeah, like that's how swing season works. So Patrick Cantlay, the lock of the century, to win the Shriners Hospitals for Children Open. There's never been anything more set in stone than this.
Yeah, that feels about right based on my swing season history. Yeah.
Okay, so Cantlay, congratulations. I'm not that high on him for DFS, but because I like him so much
for the bit,
this doesn't upset me. Yeah, exactly. Good for you, Patrick. Congratulations, and see if we can do it again in the future. Any final thoughts for you, Brandon?
I think it's a week where you kind of figure out which of these studs aren't getting talked about. We barely talked about Tony Finau. Barely started talking about Colin Morikawa. Some of these guys are going to go overlooked a little bit. I think it makes a lot of sense to focus on those golfers, all things considered.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty fun week. I would say pick your studs and rotate through the value plays. That would be my go-to approach for this week. That is all the time that we have for today. As mentioned, though, a lot of other NFL stuff going down here on the numberFire Daily Fantasy Podcast feed. Our Week 4 recap podcast is posted with a link to the Week 5 Listener League posted there. We'll also have our Week 5 preview podcast on Thursday. That'll be in the numberFire Daily Fantasy Podcast feed. Also recording live on YouTube at 10 a.m. We have all these podcasts live on YouTube, all of our Heat Check podcasts, except for the NASCAR one, live on YouTube each and every week. So make sure you subscribe to the FanDuel YouTube page and also to the numberFire Daily Fantasy Podcast feed. Brandon, if people have questions for you on Twitter, where can they find you there?
I'm at Gdula13, GDULA13.
And I am at Jim Sannes, JIMSANNES. You can also follow the FanDuel Podcast Network at FanDuel Podcast. Big thank you to Calvin Theobald, our video producer, from the video side of things here today. Thank you, Cal, as always. And thank you to everyone for tuning in. Good luck with your lineups for the Shriners Hospitals for Children Open. We'll talk to you once again next week. This has been the Heat Check Fantasy Podcast, powered by numberFire.